Um, okay, just one sec. Let me share my screen real quick. And we should be good to go. Uh, okay, take it away.
All right. Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Dalar Sultanov. I am one of the founders of Shape of Flower. At the Shape of Flower, or SOF in short, we care about people, but most importantly, we do our best or everything in our power to make them a better version of themselves. Okay, so now we all work very hard to make a high quality workshop for all of you. So I can promise you that our speakers will deliver a high quality mental health workshop, and they will talk about the methods of improving and managing your mental health. Okay, so now I'm going to pass the torch to my colleague Farooq Sultanov, and he will continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dalar. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome again to the mental health workshop. We really appreciate you being here. As my sorry, there will be a lot of admissions, so as we go, that's okay. So as my brother Dalar has pointed out, this is our first mental health workshop, and we're so excited to be bringing this to you because honestly, this is such an exciting opportunity, and it's just it's really exciting to see every single one of you here. So again, thank you so much. If you can just click on the screen to the next slide. Thank you so much. So a few things before we get into the grips and the really interesting part of the presentation, right? So we will be doing a Shape of Our hoodie giveaway. And just in case you're wondering, like this is how the hoodie looks. We'll be showing you pictures later on, so that's fine. But the way you can enter and win this Shape of Flower hoodie for free, and we'll essentially have a Wheel of Fortune at the end where it just spins, and then whoever is here and whoever participates the most throughout this workshop has the higher chance of getting this hoodie. One of the ways you can do this is you must be following all of our social media accounts. So go and follow us on the Instagram account at Shape of Flower. Go and follow us on Facebook at The Shape of Flower, and then on our YouTube channel at Soft TV, right? So you'll see this is the icon for our Soft TV channel. Please go and do that. That's one of the incentives of how you can win a hoodie, and it'll be really cool to do a giveaway right at the end of the workshop. So keep on participating. Go and follow our social medias. Our administrators will check everything, and we should be good to go for there. Next slide. So again, this is a great exemplar of the hoodie that I'm wearing right now again. So you can see it here, the back, the front, and you'll have the chance to win it. So keep on participating, keep on sharing, and keep on following our essentially everything that we have. Next slide. So before we begin today's presentation, I do want to go over sort of the Zoom etiquette and how we should conduct ourselves, because again, this is a very valuable space and we need to conduct ourselves accordingly here. So one of the ways is, well, obviously, first of all, come and ready to learn something new. That should be up there as the number one thing, because mental health is such an important aspect of our lives, and being open to learn different strategies and different possibilities just opens up our mind to a whole world that is mental health. The second thing is be respectful and kind and considerate of others, right? We don't know what others are going through. So please be mindful and always use appropriate language, right? Such an important point. The third is keep your microphone muted. We will tell you when we want to hear your amazing and talented voice, right? So when the guest speakers are like, okay, guys, I want to ask you some questions, that's your opportunity to raise a hand gesture or potentially put an X or a Y in the chat, and then we can unmute you and you can speak. Another thing is it's totally up to you whether you want to turn your camera on or off. We highly recommend, especially we'll be doing some yoga and meditation sessions later on. So it'll be really cool to participate in that. The fifth thing is to make sure everyone's comfortable in these activities, right? Let's respect other people's privacy, no photos or screenshots, try to keep the chat appropriate and free of spam. Also arrive on time. We want to have fun and full of experience, right? So we want this to be as best of a workshop as possible. And then as Roy T. Bennett has said, stay strong, stay positive, and never give up. So before we actually get to our first speaker, which is Anastasia, we would like to run like a bit of a chat game with you guys, and just to see kind of your response on everything. What do you guys think of some of these questions? And the easy way to do this is I'm going to read out a question, and all you have to do is just put a yes or a no in the chat. That's it. Simple as that. This is a warm-up game. So let's begin. Just put a yes or a no in the chat. So question number one, mental health stigma is when one feels discomfort, disgrace, and views their own mental health in a negative way. Yes or no? So again, mental health stigma is when one feels discomfort, disgrace, and views their own mental health in a negative way. Put a yes or a no in the chat. So if you click on more.
The chat's disabled.
Yes.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, the chat's disabled.
Yeah.
No worries, guys. Thank you for letting me know.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Host everyone publicly and directly. Okay, try now. Let's see how it goes. So I'll read the question again. My apologies. Mental health stigma is when one feels discomfort, disgrace, and views their own mental health in a negative way. Yes or no? Okay. I'm liking the participation. So far, so good. Yeah, absolutely. You want to address a little bit like what mental health stigma is?
Yeah, absolutely. So we live in a highly diverse and very complex society. And when it comes to mental health stigma, I believe like when people especially like in the movies, we see it like quite often, people are going through hard stuff and, or like, they, as I said, they very depressed or anxious, they get labeled with, oh, that person is crazy. There is no such a thing as crazy. And I believe that word has to be removed completely from our dictionaries, essentially. So we always have to be mindful when people, going through hard, so like whenever we see someone is going through hardships, we'll always have to be very mindful of them and not label them as difficult or label them as crazy or any of that. So let's be mindful, let's be understanding, and instead of judging, let's just provide our hand and help the person.
One more thing that I wanted to bring up, it's a little bit related to the Zoom etiquette, right? So I did forget to mention this, but we go off of a 2-strike warning system. So if you type something inappropriate in the chat or you're being inconsiderate to other people, we give you a warning, we'll send you a message. However, second time, you will be unfortunately placed in the waiting room. So that's kind of the structure that we're going with. So please be considerate. Let me just do something really quickly. Let me mute all. Whoops. Nope. Okay, so I have muted all, and the following message from that account, the last account, will get a warning. And now after that comment will be removed, unfortunately. Yeah, okay, so that should be good. Thank you to everyone for participating. Nice demonstration. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate it. This is a great example, guys. Please don't misbehave in the chat, right? Like respect everybody. And now that account has been removed. Thank you. Okay, question number 2, right? Some practices to strengthen your mental health would include enough sleep, yoga, deep breathing, exercises, music, stress relievers, and random acts of kindness. So would these things strengthen your mental health? Yes or no? Put it in the chat. Alrighty, absolutely, right? So like these activities would be like really encouraged, right? Stuff like meditation, stuff like yoga, all of this stuff, it will be highly, highly encouraged. So keep on doing this. And yes, these would strengthen your mental health. And then the final question is, what do you guys think of this? So a yes or no. In Canada, right? I don't expect you to know, but just give it your best shot. In Canada, only 2 out of 5 children who need mental health services receive them. Yes or no? What do you think? So again, in Canada, only 2 out of 5 children who need mental health services receive them. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I absolutely agree with that comment by Shiv. It's happening, but it's very sad. The government should do something more about it. And I'm so proud that nonprofits and other organizations such as us can actually attribute something, can help out. This really, really is a big, big deal in that sense. But actually, the statement is incorrect. As a matter of fact, in Canada, only 1 out of 5 children who need mental health services receive them. So it's not even a 2 out of 5.
No, just 1 out of 5 people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's truly tragic, right? Like looking at this, and we need to be doing more about it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I work. I am an emergency room nurse, guys, and I work at the emergency, and we do our best. But obviously, that's not enough. That's why, like, it's government is good, but at the end of the day, if we could, like on personal level, could kind of pitch in and do something about it, it's it will be very helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now we're gonna get to our first speaker. So Anastasia, big thank you for her for coming into the workshop. She works for Youth Wellness Network, a very prominent nonprofit organization. We'll share. Whoops, somebody wanted to come in, and we'll share. Give her the stage and share the screen with her. So here we go. Big thank you to Anastasia. Oops. Where? Oh, may close. Okay, perfect. Anastasia, I have made you the host. So
Thank you. This has happened to me so many times. To speak on Zoom and I'm on mute and I forget to unmute myself. So this is just classic that it's happening right now. Hi, everybody. Hello, beautiful humans. Give me a little message in the chat. How are you guys feeling today from a level of like 0, totally unsatisfied with your day, to like 10, super satisfied with your day? Just let me in on how you guys are all feeling. I'm so grateful to be here. I am so grateful to the Shape of Flower for having these types of events and supporting wellness, health and wellness in our communities. And now with our global community, everything that's happening with COVID, everyone's our neighbor. So I'm so appreciative to be here. I have so much to share with you. And my intention in sharing with you all today is not to overwhelm anybody. So I may skip some things if it feels good, but just to share some of the tools and strategies, the overall understanding of wellness, and the things that I truly believe have supported me in my life, with the intention of having them support you as well. So there will be some time for a Q&A at the end. I just ask if you have any pertinent questions, maybe jot them down and save them until that time. And I'm an open book, willing to answer anything within being appropriate, as we discussed earlier. So also what I'm going to ask is, I can see all of your names in the participant section, but I'm curious where you guys are from. Where are you watching this video from? Let's just connect the proverbial room and see where everyone's at in the world. I'd love to hear from you. And Toronto, Vaughan Mills. I'm in Richmond Hill in Ontario in Canada. We've got some people from Manitoba, South Africa. Welcome, Melissa. Fantastic. It's so incredible how connected we can feel even from so far apart during this time. So I'll be fully transparent with everybody. I have been in a life coaching training for 3 straight days. All I have done is look at my Zoom meeting. So what I'd like to ask everybody to do is to just take a moment and stand up with me. And I'm just going to get us to kind of shake our bodies out. This is a little more for me than it is for you. Give yourself a chance to just maybe shake out your feet, your wrists, your ankles, if you want to move your hips a little bit, shake out your shoulders, your head. And then we're going to put our arms up in the sky. Just make a big, deep breath in, stretch up and back down with an exhale 2 more times. Deep inhale in, stretch up and exhale back down. 1 more time, guys. Big inhale in. And exhale down. All right, awesome. You can come back to your seat nice and slow. As I fumble with the technology, which is typical for me, I'm also going to try and talk and give you guys my little intro at the same time while I share my screen. So I'm from an organization called the Youth Wellness Network. And what this absolutely incredible organization does is we teach mental health and wellness to kids in schools. So I teach teachers, I teach parents, I teach students. And what we do with them is teach them on topics such as mindfulness, self-esteem, emotional intelligence, conscious choice making, leadership, and goal setting, taking action. So my intention is to bring that knowledge into the space with you guys today and to share the things about wellness that I think are missed and are also most important. So I can see that some of you guys might be writing in the chat. I just want to make it known that I unfortunately can't see the chat from this view. Okay, so if there are any questions, please save them for after. And if there's something pertinent, I'll ask that my hosts just wave because I can still see them and let me know. Okay, awesome. So what is wellness really? Wellness is, there we go. Wellness is the practice of healthy habits on a daily basis. And this practice we have in order to attain better health. So it's the difference between living to survive and living to thrive. It's the difference between being comfortable at like a 5 or 6 satisfaction level, like what that little score that I asked you to do earlier, versus striving for and being really excited to be at an 8, a 9, and a 10. And so I want to give you guys the analogy of riding the wave of life. So do you find yourself like this gentleman on the left-hand side, riding the wave of life, or are you often drowning in it? And wellness can give us a beautiful scope that's maybe separate from this, which is, or are you watching the waves from the shore? So I like to think of true practice of wellness in all its capacities as being able to have the choice to stand on the shore and watch the waves of life come by, not to be overcome with the thoughts, the sabotaging thoughts, not to be overcome with the deep, difficult emotions, but to have a sense of not control, but understanding and awareness of these things as they come up. And so there are many different aspects and elements of wellness that we're going to outline, and you're actually going to get more of these as the day goes on because you're going to be talking to a bunch of different practitioners. And so these different elements, one of them is the physical element. So obviously our bodies, this is the one that we all know. This is the one that we all love. This is the one that's like, well, go to the gym, sleep better, eat better. It's the way that we fuel our lives through our body. And it's a healthy expression of that through positive sleep habits, positive eating habits, positive exercise habits. There's also the mental health aspect. So this is the engagement with the world, your engagement with the world through learning, through problem solving, through creativity, and being able to speak positively to yourself on the inside. We have 65 to 80,000 thoughts in a day. So that's what's going on mentally. So it's the ability to really pay attention to that, be aware of it, and then make steps forward from there. We also have my favorite, which is emotional wellness. This is being in touch with not only your emotions, but being able to empathize with others and their emotions. It's an understanding of how emotions impact our behaviors and how those behaviors actually impact our thoughts. And then we come back to emotions again. There is also spiritual wellness. So spiritual, religious, whatever context or language works well with you. It is the search for meaning and purpose in human existence. So it doesn't actually need to be connected to religion or spirituality. It's finding fulfillment in life. And I do this with my body because it's a sense of center, it's a sense of groundedness, and it's a sense of being led by the inside versus being led by what other people want us to do. Makes sense to everybody? There's social wellness, which is connecting with and interacting with our communities, people, other people, our friends, our family members. How do we interact with them? How do we relate to one another? And then also, how do we relate to ourselves? And then environmental. So your physical environment, as you guys can see, my physical environment is decorated with colors. This is what makes me feel healthy and happy. What makes you feel healthy and happy? What types of colors, textures, smells, things do you like in your physical environment? And then this is also connected to our relationship with the natural environment, being outside, feeling connected to the earth that we did to, the use of our resources while we're on here on planet Earth. So these are the different elements of wellness. And what you'll notice is throughout the day, you're going to be speaking to a lot of different practitioners that are going to give you different explanations, going to give you different viewpoints for you to look at wellness in these different ways and build on them. So my hope for you is that you take what you need and you leave what you don't. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is if environmental wellness doesn't seem to resonate with you too deeply, leave that one aside. Work on maybe when Ida comes back on and she talks more about the in-person self, maybe that's what kind of lights you up. Light. Maybe when Francesca comes on and she does some physical movement with you, maybe that lights you up. So I just want to give you guys permission to take what you need, things that don't serve you right now, and trust that they'll come back to you if you need them later. Okay. So this is my philosophy around wellness, and I'll outline this. It really is the understanding that when we create awareness in a space, we see that there's a different choice that can be made. And once we see that there's a different choice that can be made in our lives, it empowers us to create the change that we want. And so if there's anything in your life that you would like to change, I'd just like to encourage you, put it in the chat. If there's an element of wellness that we talked about earlier that you want to work on, that you want to shift and change for yourself, just put that element in the chat. Maybe, can I go back? Nope, I can't go back. There we go. So just write it in the chat. I'd love to look at them afterwards to see what elements you're focusing on for just for today. And then I gave you a sneak peek to my next slide. There we go. So a little bit about who I am and why I'm even here to qualified to talk to you about these things. My name is Anastasia, but growing up, my whole family called me Natasha. So as if a poor young girl who was too weird for the cool kids, too cool for the weird kids, really didn't fit in anywhere. I had no sense of self. And as if I didn't have enough of a sense of self, at a certain point in my life in grade 6, I think it was, I noticed that my name on my driver's license and on my health card and my name on my birth certificate were different names. So I went through a pretty intense personality crisis, is what I like to call it. It is an identity crisis in a way. And what this led me to is to feeling really uncomfortable, really awkward, really insecure. And I ended up creating a chameleon personality. And what that means is that anytime I went towards somebody or interacted with somebody, I would change the way that I was so that they would like me. Because that was the way that I felt full. That was the way that I felt good about myself, was when I got the validation from other people. And as you can tell, that led me down a pretty dark path of doing basically only what other people wanted me to do. And I had no sense of that inner compass, that inner knowing that I talked about earlier, right? And so this inner knowing, it really has to do with wellness because it's about the connection to yourself. It's about not just knowing who you are, but being okay not knowing who you are, being okay on the path and the journey of figuring that out, and knowing that no matter what, you've got your own back. And that's the gift that wellness can offer us when we practice consistently. That's really all it is. So now through this path that I've taken, I'm a yoga certified coach. I'm a life coach that's in the process of becoming certified for next year. I practice yoga and meditation when I feel like it, not every day. I go for walks. I feel very connected to my friends and family. These types of practices have taken me years and years to get to. But what they've done for me is they've created a person who I'm actually pretty proud to be. The same girl that still is too weird for the cool kids and too cool for the weird kids, but is way more confident. And I get to be a presenter for the things that I love the most talking about. I get to be a teacher, and I get to be comfortable in my own skin. And that is the gift that I do wish that each and every one of you get to take home a little bit more from today. So I'm so bad at this technology stuff. Here we go. So we're going to start with an intention setting. And really all that means is I want you guys to get comfortable. I'd like you guys to be comfortable in a place where you can close your eyes if you would like. And this is a great opportunity for me to invite you guys to all come on camera. So if you're comfortable with it, please remember this is a safe place. I feel so happy that our hosts were able to set that boundary and keep that boundary for us. So I feel like we can really lean into that place that was created for us. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, just know that you are held. Just know that we're all here learning. No one knows what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. We're all just trying to figure it out. So I'm just inviting you to come in and to find a spot where your body can rest. I like to place my feet flat on the ground. I like to kind of move my shoulders a little bit. And you can find a place where your eyes can gently rest. And I'm going to click this, and I'm hoping the music will work. There we go. Can I get a thumbs up if you guys can hear the music? No? All right. It is what it is. I'll go with the music. That's fine. So from here, I want you guys to close your eyes. Pretend the music is playing. And take a few deep breaths with me here. So we're going to inhale together through the nose. And exhale together through the mouth. Inhaling through the nose. And exhaling through the mouth. One more big one. Inhaling through the nose. And exhaling through the mouth. Let your eyes gently close if they're not closed yet. And just feel and notice what it's like to be in stillness in this place. Notice any uncomfortability in your mind, in your body. Notice any hesitations. Notice any openings that might be there. And from this place, I want to invite you to think of a time in your life where you felt, oh, so good, where your life was at a 10 on that satisfaction scale. What was happening? Take a look around, really put yourself in that space. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you smell? What's the weather like? If you're inside, what color are the walls? If you're outside, what do you see? And what's happening here that makes this a 10 for you? And as difficult as it might be, I just want you to name it. One word that describes how you feel in this space. And I want you to take that word, roll it around in your mind, saying it to yourself a few times to create a connection with it. Create a relationship with this word. It's like trying on a new sweater. How does this word make you feel? And I want you to ask yourself, is this what I value? Is this of value to me? And no judgment, competition, or expectation, just notice. And ever so gently and ever so slowly, I'm going to invite you, oh, beautiful, to come back into the room and to write that word down for you. I just want to acknowledge someone popped on video really quickly to show something that meant something to them, and I saw that, and I just want to acknowledge that in this moment. Thank you for sharing. So whenever you're ready, just open your eyes and write down that word. And the beautiful thing about this practice, which is a visualization, I'm assuming most people might have done before. Put in the chat if you've done a visualization before. The thing I love about this visualization or meditation, you can call it that, is that it gives us a value, a little part of ourselves that we get to name and to share with others if we want, but to have for ourselves. So I want you to write it down somewhere for yourself and just remember that value as you move through today, as you move through the event. And I want you to ask yourself, how does this value, what does this value have to do with my wellness? So write that down. What does this value have to do with my personal wellness? There's no right or wrong answer to any of these questions. It's a very personal question, just as this is a very personal journey. And then for any brave souls that, again, want to lean into this space and container that we've created together, I'm going to ask, what was your value? What are you choosing to hold valuable during this time that we all have together? Awesome. And I'm just going to share a couple more things. So I mentioned earlier that we have 65 to 80,000 thoughts in our brain. Now I want you to notice in that activity, how many thoughts were really going on? You know, the opportunity to come and tune into ourselves gives ourselves the chance to be in the present moment. So as you can see from this diagram here, I love the question here. Your body is present, is your mind. You know, our bodies can't be in two different places at the same time, but can our minds be in two different places at the same time? Yeah, and they probably are. Since I started talking, how many of you guys were hungry, bored, tired, you know, had all these other things coming up for you? That is completely and totally, utterly normal. And it's actually a part of being human. So we think that we have all these thoughts and that everybody else is so clear, but it's just because we can't see what's going on in their heads. This is a shared experience we have as humans, is being so stuck in the future or so stuck in the past that we don't allow ourselves to be present in the moment. And with many of these different things that you're going to learn today, I want to invite you to just bring some attention into whether you're present or not. I want to invite you to notice if you're checking your phone, to notice if you have other things open on your computer, and to notice whether you're actually paying attention or not. And that's not to say stop what you're doing and pay attention. That's just to say give yourself the chance to notice how you're engaging with the content on all different levels. Make sense? So the other thing I want to share today before we get to the question and answer is, what are you doing in your brain? What's happening in your head? Are you building yourself up? Are you beating yourself down? And again, noticing without judgment or competition. These are all things that we're going to get to work on together today, which is brilliant. But I want you guys to take stock of where you're at right now. So some examples of negative self-talk, or I can't do it, I'm not good enough, or I'm not enough, no one likes me, and I'm embarrassed of myself. And then some examples of some positive talk to counteract this are, I can do it, I am always doing my best, I have such great friends and family in my life, and I'm always growing and learning. So when I read these, I know you guys can feel that there's a huge difference between these words, right? And if we look at the environment of our minds, if it's riddled with self-talk, what kind of emotions do you think come from that place? What kind of actions do you think come from those emotions? And then what kind of thoughts does that breed? It's the circle that's created and that we feed either in the negative self-talk, or what does it feel like? What does it look like when we have positive self-talk? When we're saying these kind things to ourselves in our minds, how does that make us feel? What does that make us do? So again, just noticing what's there and giving yourselves the opportunity to change these thoughts. We're going to learn a lot about self-esteem from our final presenter. And this is going to be stuff that you guys are going to be able to walk out with. And I know deeply in my heart that there will be things that even if you don't fully integrate them and understand them in this moment, you'll be able to have them for later. So here's a little diagram to share with you what I've outlined in this presentation with regards to the relationship that our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions have. And this is why self-talk, our mind, our thoughts are so important. This is the impact that they have on the way that we show up in our life. It's the impact they have on our feelings. It's the impact they have on our actions. And that informs our thoughts all over again. So I'll leave you guys with this inquiry. How do you want to feel today? How do you want to feel in your life in general? What are those core desired feelings that you have for your life? Can you name them? And know that you're not going to feel them in every single moment. Know that the life is just that the life is just going to keep coming in waves. Know that that's the case. But being able to name those feelings and to have a few of them that we're going to sit and anchor and pay attention to allows you to get a little bit closer to feeling them. So if you guys want to write that down, just how do you want to feel? Name 3 feelings. And then remember that anything that you want to change, your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, anything, it starts with awareness. What you're doing today is the first step to becoming more aware of what it means to be well, to feel well, what well-being is, what wellness is. You're doing it right now. And then when we increase that awareness, we can see that there might be a different choice that we can make in our lives. A different thought, a different feeling, a different action. And when we get to make those choices, those new, beautiful, brilliant choices, we get to change the things that we want to expand on, the ways in which we want to transform in our lives. So thank you guys. This is wonderful. I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to come and speak with you all. This is a topic that lights my heart on fire, and I'm just so grateful to be able to share it with each and every single one of you. So please, if you have any questions, I will do my absolute best to answer them. Yeah. Does anybody, how do I get back? You guys have known me for all of 30 seconds and you know I cannot manage Zoom. There we go, stop sharing. Would anyone like to come either onto video or voice to ask any questions?
Anastasia, great presentation. Loved all of it.
Okay, good, I'm glad.
I have a question, and I'm sorry, it can't come very as a very kind of like a ambiguous question, but I just popped in my head, and I wanted to ask you. So, for those people who are lost, right? How do you find yourself?
It's a big question. It's a huge question.
Yeah.
I might give a little bit of a longer answer for that, actually. So I was working in the corporate world for a very long time. And what I did is I had anxiety attacks every day on my way to work, because now, looking back, I didn't know it then. Now, I know that that wasn't the space I was supposed to be in. And it was, I think, my body and my mind's way of telling me, you don't like this. You can't be here. And I wasn't listening. And so what ended up happening is I abruptly quit my job and I went to Thailand. I bought a ticket And I packed my bags and I told my mom and my dad, who didn't want to support me in leaving, that I was going to Thailand to find myself. And the only thing that I found in Thailand was that the only thing, the most important thing I've ever learned in my entire life, let's be honest, is that finding myself was not something I could do out there. And so what I would suggest as advice to someone who starting that journey to find themselves is to go inside. And it might be scary and it might be hard. So seek support. Seek support. And I don't just mean like therapy or coaching, like your friends, your family, the places that you feel safe. Seek support there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds because it's outside of you, but it is support to help you, not that they're going to fix anything. Nobody can fix anything for you. If you decide that you want to be on this journey, it will come. Have patience, have understanding. Find me on social media or email me. There are people that are here to support you. It's just a matter of finding them.
Okay.
Yeah. I do have a couple of other questions in here. Does that answer your question? Awesome. I have a question from Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks, guys. How did you get into this type of work? So Kevin, it started with me when I went to Thailand. I started a life coaching training. I actually completed the entire training. I started it back in 2015. It's with a beautiful group called CTI. I completed the training and I wanted a little bit more. I needed a little bit more. And so I went to go do my yoga training and then I needed more. So I went and I did my meditation training and I needed more. And all of those tools that I acquired external from myself, I integrated them. And I kid you not, I just messaged the person who owns this company on info. And I was like, hey, I think I'd be good at this. And now we run the company together. So just to show the difference between following external and following internal, it always leads you to a really cool place. And then I have time for another question, I think. We have to 5:55. Okay. Do you believe that social media has had a negative or positive impact on people's ability to find their true will and purpose? Zoyab, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but my God, my heart melts when you write that question. That is so deep and so beautiful. Thank you for that. I believe that social media has had many effects, both positive and negative. And I can only speak to the way that it has affected me. And I will speak a little bit to the way that it has affected my 17-year-old little sister, who is a gem, magical human being, very in touch with her emotions, very aware, but has a difficult time comparing herself to others, as do I. So I think that when it comes to your ability to find your true will and purpose, the only thing that's going to get in your way is you. That's the only thing. If social media, if you're on there scrolling around and you're noticing that that's happening, it's not social media's fault. The power is in, and it's not your fault either. The power is in your hands to change the way that you interact with it. So what I do probably every few months now is when I'm going through my feed, if I notice that my feed is making me feel really bad, I start to mute people or unfollow people. And what I love also doing is finding people who I really want to fill my feed with. Social media is just a tool. It's just a tool. And the way that we use our tools, all of them, you can do too much yoga. You can do too much meditating. I believe that. But the way that we use our tool is in our hands. And Zoyeb says, I agree that social media is not necessarily inherently bad. It's more about how we use it. Exactly. And if we can shift this perspective to the not what's good, what's bad, but how can this serve me? How can social, like I would even ask you to ask yourself the question, how does social media serve me? How can I use social media to increase my satisfaction in my life? Like, what a weird question. We don't ask ourselves these things, right? So start to look at your tools, even the people you have in your life. How do they make you feel? How do they impact your life in a positive way? We can have a whole thing on gratitude. That's like a whole other presentation, but this touches on that. Feeling myself empty and inside. Okay, George, I've got like Yeah, I'm going to read George's comment out loud, and I've got about a minute left. So lately I've been feeling my soul has left my body. I feel empty on the inside, like a dark cave with nothing inside. How poetic, George. Thank you for being honest and vulnerable here. How can I fill my body up and enlighten myself and motivate myself to do better, especially in this pandemic? Yes, George. And you might hate me for this answer, and I'm sorry if you do. It's breath for me. It might be different for you. It's breath for me. The breath, the feeling of the breath filling up your body fills my body up with light, fills my body up with life, you know. And I wrote this quote down earlier. I'm going to share it with you, George. Wellness is being happy about being alive. Being happy about being alive. So see if you can touch on that and private message me if you have any other questions, okay? I always take more time, so I'm very, very mindful of my time here. If anyone wants to private message me, I've got about 5 minutes. I'm happy to go back and forth, okay?
Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Anastasia, really quickly, Melissa did raise her hand to like ask a question via audio.
One last question, guys.
So sorry. Melissa, I'm unmuting you. The floor is yours.
Hi guys. So I just wanted to ask about something is for like mental health, I wish like there were more wellness centers for like schools so that like kids can learn more about their mental health problems and also on how to like engage in those topics so that it doesn't become like a stigma in our society. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Melissa. Are you in the GTA area? Are you in Ontario?
Sorry?
Are you in Ontario? Are you located in the GTA area?
No, I'm situated here in South Africa. So it's the SAST area. Yeah.
I can travel to your school. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you a link to our organization. I would love to continue the conversation with you because that's what we do. Unfortunately, it's not part of our regular curriculum in schools yet. It is happening. We are doing it. It will happen. We are a third party, so we get hired by the school. But if there is some interest of yours that you can even just share the information with somebody in your school, maybe there's an opportunity that myself or one of my facilitators can come and assist you. Would be lovely.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
My pleasure, Melissa. Thanks for being brave and coming on here.
All right. Thank you so very much, Anastasia. So we will. So I believe like you guys wrote Anastasia's Instagram, and even if you didn't, that's okay. Don't worry. We will post your contacts information later on, so you will guys have it. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always message Anastasia and your organization. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anastasia.
Mm-hmm. So up next, I hope Francesca was able to get into the perfect. So up next we have Francesca. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll start it off with you. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Let me make you host. Okay, so make host. Perfect.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? If somebody can't hear me, I guess just let me know in the chat. Let me just switch this. Awesome, cool. Perfect. Okay, good. Okay, hello everybody. It's so nice to see. Oh, amazing. We have 33 people. Good number. It's nice to see everybody here. Thanks, Anastasia. So I'm here to bring in a little bit of movement with breath. And I just wanted to say a few things before we get started. With everything going on in the world, we're all dealing with so many things, so many feelings, and so many emotions. And what I've found that's really helped me in my life, so I'd just like to share this and see how it resonates with anybody, is just the idea of it's really easy to spend so much time in our head, so much time in our thoughts, wondering if we're doing the right thing, wondering if we should go out to that place. And we're always just working a lot in our minds. And what we don't connect is all of this kind of noise in our head starts to create a lot of tension and tightness in the body because there's a disconnect. So we start to kind of close, feel really tight. And for me, movement has been a key to just help me shake everything off, start every new day fresh, let's say. So I wanted to bring in a little bit of movement today, linked in with a bit of meditation. So wherever you are, if you're sitting on your bed, if you're sitting on the floor, if you're sitting at your desk, it doesn't matter. You can stay seated if you'd like. If you want to take a seat on the floor, if you have a mat around you, you can bring that out. Again, it doesn't really matter. The best thing I find is not to make things too complicated. So just try out either sitting on a chair, have your feet nice and grounded and rooted into the floor. If you're sitting on the floor, you can come into Sukhasana, nice cross-legged position. If you're sitting on your bed, you can find a cross-legged position as well. If you feel uncomfortable in this pose at any time, feel free to just move your body. Don't force yourself to stay in place. So wherever you are, you'll just come to a seated position where you feel yourself being held from underneath. You can even take your hands and lift your thumb up and kind of just place it back down. Give yourself a little wiggle to really feel yourself rooted into the ground here. Take the palms of your hands and just turn them for now. We'll start with the right hand turned facing down, and the left hand we can leave facing up. This is just a nice mudra to balance our energies. You can keep your eyes open or closed, again, whatever you're comfortable with. If your eyes are closed, you can even bring your gaze into the middle of your eyebrows. And this will just help the muscles of your eyes relax. So just give yourself a moment here. Leaving your mouth just slightly open so you're not hanging on to any tension or tightness in the face. Just give yourself a moment here to just feel what this feels like. Allow your shoulders to just relax. Feel the presence of your hands on top of your thighs or knees. Eyes closed if that's comfortable for you. Gazing into the middle of your eyebrows. This is also the home of your intuition, that inner guidance, that inner voice. And just begin to notice your breath. There's no need to change it in this moment. Just start to observe the emotion of your breath. Without judgment, just simply notice. You can start to bring your belly button, start to bring the belly in towards the spine. So we're just relieving that arch in our back and creating a longer spine here. Again, relaxing the shoulders, let them fall away from the ears. And let's now turn both of our palms facing down. So we have both hands placed on our knees and thighs towards the ground. Begin to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Allow your breath to get a little bit louder, a little bit more present. So you want to make it a little bit longer. Breathing in and breathing out. Just allowing your breath to flow in and out. As you're breathing here, start to feel almost like you're filling your whole body with air. Filling up the body with breath. Exhaling. Feel your knees get heavier. Whichever part of you is in contact with the ground, allow yourself to really root in. Allow yourself to feel like the earth is holding you. So the more you allow the earth to hold you, the more you can begin to let go. Maybe you begin to feel your shoulders soften even more. Releasing any tension from the toes and the feet. Begin to notice when you breathe in, there's a sense of expansion, openness. And your exhale allows you to sink deeper into your body. Almost like you begin to feel more present inside your physical body. As you get a little heavier and heavier, keep rooting into the ground. Allow your breath to get a little bit longer. And again, if you notice any discomfort in your body, imagine like you can bring your breath right into that space. So wherever you feel like you maybe have a bit of tension, send your breath there. Take a nice inhale. Create space between that tension. And use your exhale to let it go or just to loosen it a little more. Beautiful. Keeping with your breath. And don't worry if you feel your breath quietly, very strong. Just keep focusing on the rise and fall of your breath. Wherever you are, now bring your attention into your chest, right into your heart space. Can you start to bring your breath right into the center of your heart? With every inhale, you start to create a little bit more space around the heart. Every exhale, you release any tension or any tightness you may feel there. And just slowly taking some time, focusing on feeling this space right in the center of your body. Again, if you don't feel anything or not too strong, it doesn't matter. The intention is there, and slowly but surely, you'll begin to feel a connection. If you'd like a little bit more assistance, you can place the palms of your hand right on the heart just to help you feel that presence as you breathe in and out. And just noticing like your energy is turning on, like you're activating your energy inside of you. With every breath, feel a nice sense of expansion, a nice sense of opening. And as you exhale, you begin to land a little deeper inside your body. Take a few more breaths here. Again, if you feel any kind of discomfort, breathe into it. It's okay. Allow it to be there. We can bring now our hands into Anjali Mudra, prayer position here in front of the heart. If you'd like, you can open your eyes. If you'd like, you can keep them closed. And we're just going to start a little bit of movement in order to, I love seeing movement in two different ways, either to move energy out of our body or to allow us to feel more alive. So to aliven our energy as well. So we'll just start, again, rooting into the ground. Feel your spine nice and tall. Imagine that you have your head on top of your heart and your heart on top of your pelvis here. And we're just going to take an inhale. We're going to reach the arms up overhead. And then we're going to exhale, bring the hands in front of the heart down again. Again, inhale, reach the arms out. And exhale, bring them down. Almost like when you inhale, you're reaching for whatever energy you need. If you need more love, more courage, bring it down with an exhale into the heart. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, come down. Our movement's gonna get a little bit bigger here. Just bringing your hands to your hips here. And you're just gonna start to create a little bit of circles with your hips, just a few circular motions. And just allow yourself to move slowly enough that you feel every little movement, trying to get into all the nooks and crannies of the body. Keep breathing in and out. We can change our rotation here. We're going to change sides. And imagine like you have a little string from the crown of the head that's keeping you nice and tall. Perfect. We'll come back into the center here. Bring your hands on either side of you. We're just going to extend our legs out. Give your feet a little shake, a little wiggle. And just take the palms of your hands wherever you are and just give your knees or your legs a little bit of love. So just feel nice contact, connection to the legs, moving around any stagnant or stuck energy, going on to the other side. Awesome. So I invite you to now let's come into a standing pose. We're going to come up standing onto our feet. Just bring your feet hips distance apart. So just placing your feet right underneath the hips here. And just look down at your feet. Look down at your toes. Take a little soft bend in the knees and just feel your feet really root into the ground. Again, a lot of the tension we hang on to is because we forget to plant and really root into the ground and allow energy to fall out rather than stay tight in the body. So just rooting the feet into the ground, find a little bit of softness in the knees. We're going to create a little bit of a bigger movement, pressing the toes into the floor. We're going to reach the arms up high into a Hasta Uttanasana. So you're going to bring the arms up overhead, a little bit of arch in the back. Ground the feet into the ground, and exhale, you're going to hinge from the hips and just let your body fall down here. Let the arms swing. Pressing the toes into the floor, you're going to inhale, reach back up into a Hasta Uttanasana. Open the heart, open the chest. And again, exhale, hinge from the hips. Let it all go. Try to be as loose as you can here. Let the head go completely. We'll do one more. We're going to inhale, press toes into the floor. Inhale, lift the heart up, open the heart, open the chest. Beautiful. And exhale, let it all go. You can leave the legs long or you can bend them a little bit here. Press the feet into the floor. And we're just going to grab a hold of our elbows with our hands. So the right hand is going to grab a hold of the left elbow. The left hand is going to grab a hold of the right elbow. And then you're just going to sink down here. If you need, you can always bend your knees and even rest the belly right onto the thighs. Press the feet into the floor. Bring the chin in towards the chest. And let your hands place a gentle pressure on the elbows to create space. And just allow yourself to slightly hinge from the side. I'm so used to speaking Italian that my words may be a little bit off here. So you're just gonna sway, that's the word, sway from side to side, and really ask yourself if you're releasing your head as much as you can. So bring the chin in towards the chest. Breathing in and out. Come back into the center, find stillness. You're going to release the hands and slowly make your way down to the floor. So whichever way is comfortable for you to make it onto the floor, take your time as you bring yourself into a tabletop position. If you're on a hard surface, just give yourself a little bit of love for your knees. So if you can grab a blanket or something just to cover up the knees. And we're going to bring so you want your hands nice and wide and spread apart. You're going to place them down underneath your shoulders. Your knees are hips distance apart. And you really want to press the fingertips. Use your whole palm of your hand pressing into the floor. Imagine your spine nice and long, so you want to create space in between each and every vertebra. We're trying to create some space for the breath. And once you're here, we're going to do a few cat-to-cow poses. Find a little bit of softness in the elbows. We're just going to inhale. You're going to lift the tail up, look forward, and check out on your shoulders. Try and create space between the shoulders and the ears, and press the floor away from you. On your exhale, you know how you see cats as they pull their back up? You're pulling the belly in towards the spine and let your head go. Bring the chin in towards the chest. And then on another inhale, come back just as we were before. Lift the tail, lift the head, shoulders relax. And again, exhale, pull belly in towards the spine. We'll do a few more. So just allow yourself to follow the rhythm of your own breath as you breathe in, space between each and every vertebra, and exhale, let it go. Notice what the breath does. As you inhale, you have the capacity to create space, and exhale, release. Beautiful. We'll do two more here. Take your time. And exhale, let it go. We'll come back into a tabletop. And just release your right hand for a moment. Release the left hand for a moment. And we're just gonna let our feet swing over to the left-hand side. So just let both feet swing to the left side. And then you're gonna turn your gaze like you wanna look behind you. So giving yourself a nice little twist. As you're here, take a nice deep breath in and let it go with a nice big exhale. Coming back into the center, we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. So you're just gonna swing your feet over to the right. And then you're gonna twist your gaze over to the right. Notice where you feel that opening and bring your breath into that space. Nice deep breath. Exhale, let it go. We're gonna come back in to tabletop, walking the hands towards the knees. In whichever way is comfortable for you, you can get creative. You're gonna again lift yourself up, press the feet into the floor, feel yourself really rise, feel the energy come up, down from the feet, up, bringing the arms up overhead. And then again, exhale, bring the hands down to Anjali Mudra. Really feel yourself take up space in the body. Wanted to add a little fun position that I learned when I was in India. So this is called the elephant pose. Again, it's a very free-flowing pose, so allow yourself to have fun with this and just move around. So your feet are going to be wider than your hips, and you're going to turn your toes outwards a little bit here, okay? You want to have a little bit of softness in the knees, so a little bent knees. Perfect. But before we tire the legs, let's position the hands. So your thumbs are going to come in right into the middle of the eyes here. And this is your elephant trunk. Okay? So we're going to And again, there's no precise way to do it. More what we want to do is just allow the body to flow freely. Really root in, ground the feet into the ground, toes pointed outwards. Take a little bend into the knees. Root into the ground. Feel yourself really plant those roots into the ground. So you're doing less work if you allow yourself to connect with the earth. It's holding you. It's there, always there to support you. So bring your thumbs in. So this is the elephant strum. And we're going to root into the ground. And we're going to start off, just remembering the breath as well. We're going to start off to dip to the right. So rooting into the ground, I'm going to allow myself to dip over to the right, drop the head down. And then I'm going to start to shift over to the left. As I go to the left, I'm going to dip down again. And again, this is a free-flowing movement. You're getting into the side of the hips here. You can come in a little higher if you like and dip lower. The movement can be small or big. If your legs ever get tired, give yourself a moment upright. And then exhale back down, rooting in, release. So inhale, exhale. So keep flowing in to your elephant here. Take your time, keep breathing. Okay. It's weird not to see everybody, but I hope you're having fun. Exhale, let's take 2 more moments here. So just allowing yourself to really move into the body, get into the spaces and places. Maybe bringing the trunk up for the last few moments. Just finding some space. And let's slowly come back up. Release the hands down. Bring your feet in together. Give yourself a moment to allow the breath to come in. Fill the body. And we'll take a nice exhale from the mouth. Another one, we're going to breathe in. Beautiful. Next one, we're going to bring the hands up overhead. Inhale. Exhale, bend into the knees and just let everything go. So bending into the knees, let the arms sway. And then inhale, reach up again, open. Exhale, bend into the knees, let everything go. Breathing out from the mouth, we'll do 2 more. Inhale. Exhale, any stagnant energy. Breathe in whatever you need. Last one. Exhale. Lifting ourselves up. A little wiggle of the shoulders. And we're just going to end this movement in a really awesome grounding pose. I learned it as called diamond pose. I know it's called in many different ways, but we're going to come. You can do this on your bed or on the floor. Come onto your knees. Bring your big toes to touch together and just allow yourself to sit down back onto the knees. You're going to widen the knees a little bit more here. And you're just going to slide the hands forward. And you're going to come down. What you want to do is bring the forehead down towards the floor, if it makes it. If not, if you have a little blanket that you can put to lift up the ground for you, so you can place the forehead down. So reaching the fingertips forward, allow the forehead to come down here. This is amazing for the back. As you sink down towards the ground here, feel the breath travel up and down the spine. Again, allow yourself to ground into the earth. Feel the support underneath you as you breathe in and out, melting deeper and deeper into the ground. I often use this pose when I'm feeling scattered, anxious. It really helps me feel safe and grounded. You're stretching from the fingertips forward, pressing the bum back. Breathing in and out. Letting it all go with your exhale. You can start to wiggle and move the forehead, like you're giving your forehead a little massage here, from left to right. As you use your breath to slowly lift yourself up. Take your time to bring yourself back, taking a seat wherever you are. Just turning the palms up towards the sky. Taking one nice deep breath in. Exhale. Noticing how you're feeling. We bring the hands in front of the heart. Just like to offer you an Om. So if you want to join in, we'll inhale, exhale one Om to close our practice. Breathing in. Let a nice exhale out. Namaste. Okay. I hope everybody enjoyed that and they just got to feel what was going on inside. If you have any questions, I know we're up for our next speaker, but you guys have my Instagram, so if anybody wants to reach out or send me a message, I'm here. Thank you very much. Hold on, I can't hear you.
Thank you so very much, Francesca. I really enjoyed it. I'm sweating out like a dog. I don't know what are you doing with me, you know? Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And guys, so you saw Francesca shared her contacts with you. If you missed it, don't worry about it. We will post her contacts again, so you can contact her if you have any questions or concerns. Okay. Thank you very much, Francesca.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, big thank you again to Francesca. We'll be moving on to Ida now. So Ida, I believe, so Ida's here. Thank you so much to Ida for coming. I will share the host with her, and then that should be good. So let's see. Make host. Okay, perfect.
Beautiful. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Francesca, for that beautiful practice. It's really a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I just want to start by, first of all, honoring and thanking all of you for choosing your Saturday to be here with all of us, and honoring you for making mental health a priority in your life, and honoring our two beautiful hosts for just making all of this happen. So just to introduce myself, my name is Ida Halidri, and today I'm going to be introducing you to a psychotherapy modality that I practice called internal family systems. And we're going to be talking about how to handle difficult and challenging emotions like fear, anxiety, loneliness that may have come up for all of us during the pandemic. So as far as you guys know, what will be happening today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the model, and following that, I'm going to be guiding you inside for a little guided meditation so we can get to know our internal systems a little bit better. So I know whenever I mention IFS or internal family systems, people tend to think that it has to do with our families, and it's just like, oh, are you going to tell me how my mom and dad like messed me up? And that's not exactly it. But even though the model doesn't dispute that how we were raised in our families affected us today, that's a no-brainer. But internal family systems is more about our own inner world. So if you guys have heard the term inner child or shadow work or parts work, internal family systems is basically bringing awareness to our own inner world. So think of, all the different thoughts and feelings and personalities and aspects of ourselves that make up our entire being. Internal family system sees that as our inner world. So basically, this premise is built on the foundation that we're all made of very many different parts and very many different personalities and very many different aspects of ourselves. And it is also based on the premise that in order for us to feel whole, we need to be in relationship with all of these different parts inside of ourselves. And also, there is all of us have the capability and the ability to heal our own inner system because we all have all the tools that we need to offer compassion to all of our parts. So I wanted to bring this idea of internal family systems specifically with everything that's happening around the world right now with the pandemic, because as we can see, nations and countries and people are all handling this very differently. And it's bringing up in all of us a lot of challenging feelings like fear, anxiety. There's a lot of anger. There's, loneliness that has come up, and it's making it really challenging to manage all of these different feelings. And typically the rhetoric that we hear is, oh, just, don't be scared, or don't panic, or don't worry. And that's forcing us to not feel a certain feeling and not acknowledge a part of us that is really there. So what I want to invite all of us today is to really allow for the possibility that anything that comes up, any feeling that you guys may have been experiencing during this time is okay, and it's welcomed here. IFS is also based on the premise that all parts are welcome. So, and there is space for conflicting feelings. So you can simultaneously be really excited that, you don't have to go into your office, and you don't have to, you can work from home, and also simultaneously be, very grieving the fact that you had a family trip planned, or grieving the fact that you can't see your grandmother or even your parents for Mother's Day, so it's I would like for us to just create some space for all of these different feelings and emotions and parts that are really just trying to get our attention. And I really want to help us frame the pandemic and everything that's happening right now as a possibility of a teacher. The pandemic is what I like to call a tormentor. So it's a mentor, but it's also tormenting us, and it's a teacher. It's bringing to highlight all parts of us that need attention. So if one of your responses has been fear, this is an opportunity for us to get curious about the fear, because it's the fact that it's there, it's showing us that fear exists inside of us. So what I'd like to do today is guide us through a little bit of a meditation where we can get to know, all of these different parts. I did want to do a little exercise, but I see that everyone has their videos off, and I don't want to encourage anyone to turn their videos on if you're comfortable with keeping your videos off. But maybe what we can do is take a moment to just start to settle into your seat, and we're going to move our awareness inside and do a little meditation I like to call Who's There? So it's just, there's no agenda in this meditation. We're just gonna close our eyes if that feels comfortable for you and settle into your seat. Maybe place both of your feet on the floor and really feel the ground underneath you. Really feel the support of your chair, your feet. Maybe your hands are resting light on your thighs, palms up or down, whatever's comfortable. And just really start to bring in some relaxation in the body. Start to deepen your breath, maybe breathing in for 2 and breathing out for 4. Dropping your shoulders a little bit. And start to notice, just start to pay attention. Start to get curious of what's happening inside. We're not trying to stop the thoughts. We're not trying to control, push anything away. We're just noticing. Do you notice any feelings that are coming up? Any sensations in your body? I just am inviting you here to allow all of that to come up. And as we're thinking of, let's use Mother's Day because it's this weekend. And let's start to notice what feelings come up around specifically Mother's Day and the pandemic. Just allow those voices to pop in. Maybe some are feeling sadness. Maybe some are excited that they get to see their mother. Maybe some of you are mothers and you're being celebrated by your family. Just noticing the thoughts that come up. And when a thought starts to feel too strong and it really takes you, just try to bring your awareness back to your breath and notice it as a thought, a part of you, a feeling, a sensation, however you're experiencing it. And here, I'd like to invite you to pick one of those parts, one of those thoughts, one of those feelings, and really start to focus on it. Is there one in particular that captures your attention that you'd maybe like to get to know a little bit better? Maybe a part that you've noticed before. This is like an aspect of your personality. And start to focus on that. Maybe it's a part that is really feeling grief around not being able to go and visit your family. Whatever part is really getting your attention right now, just focus on one of that. Start to invite thoughts, more thoughts around this, and just really focusing on this one particular aspect. And start to notice, like, how are you experiencing it? Is it just a thought? Is it a feeling in your body? Is it a tightness around your chest? Is it, tingling in your stomach? Just notice if there is any sensations that go along with it. Basically, what we want to do is create form to this part. Next, I want you, as you're focusing on it, to pay attention to how are you feeling towards it. Are you maybe wanting it to go away? Are you happy that you have this? Are you just curious about it? What we want to do is try to approach this with just an open heart. So any feeling of trying to make it go away or trying to change it or trying to, or just being really attached to it, let's just, let those all go right now. And just allow some space to come from your open heart. And just be a little bit curious about what this feeling, sensation, or thought, what this aspect of yourself, what it might have to show you. And at this point, it's once you've really connected with an aspect of yourself from an open heart, it's really as simple as asking it, is there anything you'd like to show me? And just listening inside. And if at this point you're like me and you have a critical voice that comes in and is judging this entire thing, then welcome that too and say thank you for showing up. And ask it if it's possible that it can step back for this moment as we're getting to know this aspect of ourselves. And see what happens. Notice if there is any softening that happens. And if not, that's okay too. If something else is getting your attention, then we can invite that in as well and get to know that a little bit better. So as you're, noticing all the different parts in your system with an open heart, I'll just invite you to send that compassion inside. Any and all parts that showed their face, any and all thoughts and feelings and sensations that showed up, just send them your gratitude for showing up. Send them some compassion. And let them know maybe that you'd like to get to know them better. And as you're bringing your awareness back into your body and into yourself, just thank those parts and let them know you'll be back later. And start to bring your awareness back to the class. And you can take as much time as you need. And, this was a very general introduction to how to slow everything down when a challenging feeling comes up. This was a bit general, so it's much better when we're working with a specific part to really focus on it. But at this point, I just wanted to allow for you guys for the possibility that the feelings and emotions that are coming up during difficult times or challenging experiences, are completely normal and we don't have to wish them away. 2, we have an opportunity to pause and separate them from ourselves. And 3, learn to be in relationship with them. So at this point, I'll invite some comments in the chat if anyone can share any of the parts that came up. Or, I would like for us to take just a few moments to jot them down if anything interesting came up, or if there's any specific part that you're curious to get to know better. And I'll invite any comments in the chat.
Absolutely. I'll just start off with my first question, and then we'll get the ball rolling. So my primary question is, I've been reading a lot about like how to heal certain parts of your body and how like the importance of that. What are some of your like recommendations on the specific things that we can do on our everyday life? Because it's so important to be able to know the skill. But are there anything that you would recommend to do or to implement?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So the practice that I like to do and that I've invited for myself is just recognizing that any hard feeling or any hard emotion that comes up is not the entire story. Like once I'm able to, like, let's say, I'm with a partner and I feel really triggered, or I'm feeling I'm really emotional or really scared. The first thing that we can do is just allow for the possibility that that's not the entire story, and that is just a part that is giving you information. So if you are able to allow for that possibility in that moment, and just I like to externalize these feelings. So how would I respond to this feeling if it was my 5-year-old child that was standing in front of me? I wouldn't be like, okay, no, like go away. Like you shouldn't feel this. Like, why are you feeling like this? Like, this is silly. You should have moved on by now. Like, why are you so triggered? Like, that's typically the relationship that we have with a difficult emotion. It's like, don't feel like that, make it go away, or distract yourself. Yeah. But can you possibly in that moment allow for a moment of space to externalize it, to bring it out of your body and imagine it as a 5-year-old standing in front of you, just to create that moment of space between you and that feeling, so that you can choose how you respond to it. And typically when we do that and we externalize it as, your own child, you instantly know that you wouldn't, wish it away or tell it to just get over it or tell it to just like move on kind of thing. You would come at it with maybe curiosity, like, how come you're feeling this way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's an odd process to start to talk to ourselves, right? To just like be in relationship with all these different parts. But from practice and working with clients as well, what I've noticed is that these parts respond instantly. And the second that we're able to come and with curiosity and an open heart and like engage in conversation with them internally, they soften right away, and they're willing, because they want, they want to heal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all in the mind, and it's all in that type of healing. And I feel like the more a person can integrate that, the better it would be. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If there are like no further questions, you can always direct message Ida. She'll be here for the next couple of minutes as well. So that would be great. If anybody is interested in doing that. Other than that, I think we'll. Oh, has there been some? Okay. I think we'll just keep it rolling. Thank you again to Ida for the amazing like meditation. Like this was really, really great. So thank you again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely.
And you guys have my social media, so you can connect with me there. And thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we'll be showing everybody's social media, including us, like at the very end. So you can also check it out and contact her if you have any further questions. Up next, we're having Chris Somerville. So a big thank you for Chris Somerville for coming in. And I will be passing on the host ownership to him. Okay, so. Perfect. Mm-hmm.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, great. What a delight to spend a sunny, warm, unbelievable, great day here in Steinbeck, Manitoba. I'd love to be out working with the flowers and the leaves and the grass and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? This is a thrill to my heart because I've been so encouraged by Farouk, and I want to thank the Shape of Flower Workshop and having me. I think I'm probably the oldest person and the greatest person, but I've certainly learned today from Anastasia, and I love her concept about wellness, that the path to wellness is awareness is choice, and awareness, choice, and change. I hope I got that right. Yeah. And also Anastasia leading us, or rather Francesca leading us in the meditation in terms of that centering. And then Ida, thank you so much, talking about the different parts of ourselves and how we get in tune with each other. What I want to do, I'm going to try to share my screen. So Farouk, you might have to lead me through this. So I just hit the green button that says share screen, right? And share. Do you see it? Do you see my outline? Okay, good. So I'm going to try not to be redundant here, okay? And I know, first of all, many of you are saying, where is this guy really from? I mean, he couldn't have been born in Manitoba, for heaven's sakes. And you're absolutely right. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I was born in 1952. Yes, I remember the Ku Klux Klan. I remember the segregated washrooms. I remember the Baptist church where the 6 African-American children were killed. Martin Luther King was in the Birmingham jail writing his letter from Birmingham jail. I was 11 years old. And we were poor folks that lived on one side of one of the hills or mountains there in Birmingham. And on the other side was where the bombing was taking place. Angela Davis and I lived 1 mile apart. So I think I've come a long ways from Birmingham to beautiful Canada. And today I want to talk with you about how to ride out and survive. But I added, since I talked with Farouk, the word overcome, because I don't think it's just a matter of we want to survive this. We just want to, thrive, but also thrive and overcome the storm of the coronavirus. And the first thing that I want to start out with is the present reality, which some of our previous speakers have already talked about. And I don't know how many of you read the book or saw the movie The Perfect Storm, which was about the Andrea gale that went down in the North Atlantic Sea in September of 1991. And the perfect storm, I mean, how could you call something so terrible a perfect storm? Well, meteorologists use the word perfect storm because they say it makes perfect sense. Because it's a perfect ideal situation in which there would be all of this catastrophe. And what actually happened is that you had strong weather coming in from 3 of the 4 points on the compass, all of it converging on the little Andrea gale. And so many of us and many people we work with, our family and our friends, our colleagues, and every sector of society is experiencing this perfect storm that we're calling the coronavirus. And huge implications on all parts of our body inside of us and all parts of our community and all parts of our society and all parts of our world that we live in, and not just us, but every creature, the feathered one, thin one, et cetera, and so forth. So you've probably all read much about the fact that COVID has certainly put mental health on the map. And so I've given you a number of websites in this document. If you email me, or Farouk can send it out, but if you email me, because there's my contact information, some wonderful, legitimate websites that give you information about the impact of this perfect storm on our mental health and our physical health and emotional health. And they say very little about spiritual health, but certainly it has created a lot of spiritual existentialism, I think, for many of the people that I work with. And so I hope that you'll be able to look at some of those. I think it was, well, one of the speakers talked about the previous one, what's related to COVID-19, and in terms of illness, physical illness and death, loss, grief, isolation, loneliness, fear, anxiety, PTSD, depression, the increase of alcohol and drug use, domestic violence, divorce, unemployment, economic crisis, and despair. And just for an example, if you take one segment of society, Gen X women have not been sleeping well during the pandemic. And I mean, it's not that our culture has been all that good to Gen X women, but COVID-19 has made it much worse in terms of job instability, financial panic, and caretaking was already really stressing women out. And statistics show that women are getting hit hardest economically in terms of job losses. So what we have here is that the difficulty here is trying to figure out what the line is between an appropriate response to traumatic circumstances and a clinical condition. And so this workshop has been very helpful, I believe, to me, and I hope to you, in terms of how do we ride this out and overcome and thrive in the midst of this so-called perfect storm. And so even though people are feeling mostly anxiety and depression, those are the number 2 mental health issues, that doesn't mean you have a mental illness. Let me say that again. It does not mean you have a mental illness, but people who had a pre-existing mental illness coming into the pandemic, they're experiencing double depression, a double mental illness, because the pre-existing mental health problem, along with all the other emotional factors that are happening. And so, like people with schizophrenia, due to the specific aspects of that condition, are finding themselves more isolated. And by the way, the number 1 group that dies from COVID is age-related. So people in their 70s and 80s. Did you know that the second group would be people with schizophrenia, because they have significant cardiovascular and metabolic issues due to the side effects of the medication, not the schizophrenia. So, we're experiencing dysregulation of our sleep and appetite and exercise. And so, again, to reference the presentation on wellness, to concentrate on that. Obviously, every day, reading the different news reports that I get about the sounding alarm that the current wave of the COVID virus is resulting in psychic trauma, burnout, mental illness, and economic injury, and which is not going to, we're not going to get over this fast. We will get over it. We will get through it, not just over it, but we'll get through it. But it will probably, these things that I just mentioned will be the most enduring health footprints of COVID-19. So, the perfect storm then is a recipe for mental health issues. Just a second here. I'm not going to read those statistics there by Morneau Chappelle, because you probably know many of them. But for sure, most Canadians are experiencing significant mental health distress. And one of the things is that we've seen an increase in deaths of despair. Right there. Yeah, deaths of despair. I don't know if you've heard that term or not, but that's where people intentionally kill themselves through substance use, opioids, fentanyl, knowing that you can overdose. And so they overdose and for the purpose of killing themselves, which is a form of suicide. So That's very alarming to me that people can be in such a state of despair because of lack of wellness, a lack of integration of the inner parts of self and so forth. So, we are in a perfect storm. And when you look at the LGBTQ community, the number expressing that their mental health has worsened has jumped to 45%, and 40% for people whose household income is less than $25,000 a year. So those parts of our community who are more vulnerable and were vulnerable before COVID-19, they're in a greater state of vulnerability. So what comes next then? Is what I call a plan for resiliency. I find the discussion around COVID-19, the pandemic fatigue, tiring, and I actually get tired of it being talked about so much. And that's why I encourage people not to watch a lot of news. Limit your social media or the kind that you're viewing. And I think, and this may sound negative to some of my co-presenters today, but I think what we found in many segments of our society is that we're not as resilient as we thought we were, especially in the Western world, United States and Canada, with our wealth and our knowledge. We're not really as resilient as perhaps we thought we would be for this. And so some great websites to learn about resiliency and hold some workshops. You can create some really wonderful programs for people of any age from some of these resiliency websites. They're excellent. And for the workplace, resiliency in the workplace, Canada Life has workplace strategies for mental health. But the one that I find most practical and very helpful, and it's the number one website that I recommend to people, because I get calls from all over Canada and actually from the Middle East, and somehow or another people have become to know about me as a national and international leader. I've been working in the schizophrenia recovery movement for 30 years. My brother developed cannabis-induced schizophrenia. Another brother who had bipolar, who took his life by suicide. My father, back in the 60s and 70s, we didn't have terminology for mental illness. All I knew that he was an alcoholic, sexaholic, and rageaholic. And I don't like titles, but that's the kind of environment we lived in. We lived in a perfect storm in the Summerville family in Birmingham, Alabama. But my father, no doubt, was struggling with bipolar disorder and an alcohol use disorder. And he also took his life by suicide, even though he came to an authentic spiritual relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, and he found forgiveness from the Lord and from his wife and from his children, the 6 children that were living. He took his life because why? He couldn't forgive himself. He did not know how to forgive himself because he was a harsh father. The first death in the Somerville family was my youngest sister, Cherie, in 1985. She had been drinking all day long, had a fight with daddy that morning, and drove home. In 1.3 miles from the house, she ran off the side of the road, and her C2 was destroyed, and consequently she suffocated in that car accident. So there's been a lot of trauma in my family, and I think it's just by the grace of God and a resilient mother, a mother who was very resilient and had a real keen sense of humor. I think I've had some very good mentors in my life who have encouraged me along. So what is resiliency? It's that which helps us to navigate life's challenges. So if you think of the Andrea Gale, it was trying to navigate that perfect storm. And Resiliency comes from a place of strength and conviction. And I think that parallels with what we've heard so far today. But what we've seen COVID-19 do is it has enormous cognitive and emotional impacts on us. So it's sort of decimated our sense of security and control. And so millennials and generations after the millennials are kind of numb, I find, and kind of lost in space. I've had professors call me and say, Chris, will you come and speak to our clinical students that when they get into clinical practice, their stress and their anxiety and quote, they're falling apart. And so resiliency is typically defined as the capacity to recover from difficult life events, the ability to withstand adversity and to bounce back and to grow despite life's downturns. And I think of my own life, as you've heard a little bit about it, it's not been an easy life, but I do believe in the wellness and resiliency and mentorship and having workshops like this. And having a strong, healthy spirituality, not a toxic one, because that will be detrimental to your mental health. I like this statement right here. Resiliency is not a trampoline where you're down one moment and you're up the next. It's more like climbing a mountain without a trail map. It takes time and strength and help from people around you. And that's why we need human connection. The reason why we don't like the isolation and the restrictions is that we were not created to live in isolation. We were created to live in community, tribes, community, and families. And so resiliency, it takes time and strength and help from people like you, because we will experience setbacks along the way. It's not a perfect pathway. But eventually we reach the top and we look back at how far you've come. And then we find ourselves at another time at another valley. And then we begin the journey again. So another way of describing resiliency is like the keel of a ship. So underneath the ship, you have this little ridge, a keel. And the purpose of the keel is when the ship is in, or the boat is in the storm toss seas and the waves, it's supposed to help, and it does help the ship from capsizing. So what we're discovering, and what many of us are discovering, as people cry out for help sincerely, wanting help, and what do I do, is that they're realizing that their keel is not as developed as they might like for it to be. So what are some internal factors of resiliency? Self-control, and you can see the words after that phrase: self-control, the ability to cope, acceptance, willpower. Another internal factor is self-confidence, strength, and self-reliance, and determination. And again, I reference our previous speakers and what they have led us in to today, that helps us with self-confidence. And then there are external factors to resiliency in terms of our personal relationships, friends and loved ones and colleagues and others. I think it's one of the saddest things in my life that we're not able to attend funerals, we're not able to attend weddings. My daughter is a chaplain at the Bethesda Hospital and Personal Care Home here in Steinbeck, Manitoba, and she's been around COVID patients now for over a year. And just to see the grief that the family members who taught with her, that they cannot even go into the room. And believe it or not, some places are not even equipped for the patient to view a family member on FaceTime or some other virtual technology. And I think that's horrible, obviously. Another external factor, purpose and meaning and spirituality was brought up in the beginning. And so purpose and meaning is that which makes you want to get up in the morning, not just for yourself, but for others, to serve others and to inspire others, as well as that which inspires you. communities and social support. So again, your tribe, including people who can empathize with your circumstances at life's challenging moments. By the way, I know this sounds rather analytical, but what you need to know about me is I love nature. The creator, the creation, the creatures, and communing with all of that. And so I love taking hikes in the White Shell here. My daughter, Lydia, and I, and by the way, Lydia is to be married June the 26th. And today, Manitoba just announced that only 5 people can be at a gathering. And so, we're working at resiliency and looking inward and also outward and upward to how we face this. And we want to face it in a positive way, not denying the negative aspects, because there is a strong grief element to what we're going through. And we have to honor grief in terms of that it's part of our body speaking to us about our fears and our hurts and our losses. So, but creating a plan may not help us avoid the crisis, but it certainly can make it easier for us to get through it. So Canada Life in their program, these are some of the things that they emphasize in their workshops. You can go to their website, it's listed above, in terms of, recognizing, exploring your stressors, examining your options, work resilience for leaders, work resilience for employees, et cetera. So forth. There's the website right there. Now, I want to come to an exciting point for me. I mean, resiliency, I love reading about it. And because we weren't a resilient Somerville family growing up in Birmingham, Alabama, as a bunch of racists. And with mental health problems and dysfunctionality and so forth. And so is resiliency caught or taught? Well, I think it's both. And to be around people who can be mentors and examples of wellness and positive meditation and resiliency. But then the promise of hope. I think what's most disturbing to me as I analyze all of this is that probably the 2 words that have been used the most, at least in the English vocabulary, are the words hope and hopelessness. As people are searching for hope, we'll never get through this. Things will never be the same again. And so what we're finding is that a lot of university students are dropping out. A lot of people are leaving their jobs, moving in with other relatives, not just for economic reasons, but also because of mental health reasons. So, where are you? Are you here? Are you there? Are you there? Are you seeing my pointer? So a lot of good websites about hope, measuring hope for the future is a great one. And Rick Warren, one of my favorite speakers, he talks about the 10 most common causes of hopelessness. Now, this was before COVID-19, but you can read some of those. And, when you don't have a purpose, or you're grieving a loss, or you don't know how to grieve or mourn, when you've done something wrong or shameful, when you're oppressed by other people, et cetera, et cetera. And so in terms of positive psychology, there is the concept of hope therapy and exploring beliefs about hope. The thing about, I think the pandemic has produced fear. And it's fear of fear. I mean, we can have a gut fear. So the people on the Andrea Gale, they had fear. Initially, they had that gut fear, but then as you watch the movie and read the book, it evolved to a fear of fear, and it comes out as we won't get over this, or my life will never get better, or things won't be the same. Well, probably won't be the same as we've known them, but things can even be better afterwards if we're a more kind, more generous society, less war, more peace, more humanitarianism. And if we learn from this perfect storm more about wellness and hope and resiliency and meditation in terms of that which expands our spirituality. Now, the reason why I talk about hope so much is because in mental health, we have the concept of recovery. And people with mental illnesses, they can live a life of recovery. Recovery is not a cure. So like you've seen here that I have a prosthetic hook. So I'm recovering from a loss of a forearm and hand that I lost when I was 15 years old, alligator hunting in the bayous of Louisiana. So I was putting the rope on the snout of the alligator. And I don't know if you've ever had alligator meat, it's really tasty. It's very delightful. I didn't put the rope on the alligator right, and consequently, my hand was bitten. And because we were poor, I didn't have access to the medical care that I should have had. But I'm in a state of recovery. How many of you believe that story? It's not true. I didn't lose my hand by an alligator, okay? I was born with the absence of a right forearm and hand, but I am in recovery. I'm in recovery from depression, suicidal depression. I'm in recovery from a very dysfunctional, unhealthy home. I'm in recovery from misuse of alcohol in terms of self-meditating. So we're all in recovery. Get used to it. We're all in recovery, and we will recover from this perfect storm called the coronavirus. Yes, there will be losses, and yes, we will need to grieve and not just think about, but to feel deeply about what is happening and what life will be afterwards. But recovery, you see there in the yellow for people who are recovering from anything, but let's say in mental illness, it's still being able to live a satisfying, hopeful, and contributing life. At the heart of recovery is the concept whose principles include hope, dignity, self-determination, responsibility. So with people with mental illness, they often do not have this hope and dignity and self-determination and responsibility. In fact, most don't, because the psychiatrists don't emphasize this. Our mental health system is a mental illness system. Its focus is on symptom reduction. We should have a mental health system that is based on quality of life, life satisfaction, and wellness and resiliency, as well as treating symptoms. So recovery is real, and hope is real, and it can provide the essential and motivating message of a better future, because people have historically overcome the internal and external challenges, barriers, and obstacles that confront them. Let's put this perfect storm in context. Stalin killed 20 million people. Mao Zedong killed 18 million people. Nikita Khrushchev killed millions of people. The genocides that are happening in China and elsewhere in the world today, millions who are being killed and living in poverty, and they don't have the affluence that we have here in the Western world, and so sometimes, I say, well, why is our struggle so hard when we seem to have we don't have the same conditions. I mean, certain vulnerable peoples in the Western world certainly are oppressed, as we know. But nonetheless, it's just something to think about. In the mental health movement, we have the CHIME model, CHIME, CHIME. And so hope is about connectedness through peer support. It's about optimism, belief in recovery, hope-inspiring relationships. It is about finding your identity. Mental health problems and mental illnesses and the pandemic can rob you of your identity when you've lost your toys, so to speak, the things that you've come to depend upon. And so who am I? And so the need to rebuild a positive sense of identity. And then hope is about meaning, meaning in whatever the catastrophe is that we're experiencing. Spirituality, which is about connecting with one another, connecting with self and connecting with the creator. And then the final one would be empowerment. And so these are the things that we want to try to be helping people with as they navigate through this perfect storm of COVID-19, perfect storm, so to speak. And by the way, CHIME comes from the Scottish Recovery Network, and it used to be called the Schizophrenia Society of Scotland. So recovery emerges from hope. The belief that recovery is real provides the essential and motivating message of a better future. People can and do overcome the internal and external challenges and barriers and obstacles that confront them, even with loss. Even with all the great losses that I've had in my life, and yet I was a poor, white, privileged human being, you know, in the community where I lived. So hope is internalized and can be fostered by peers and families and providers and allies and others. So hope is the catalyst of the recovery process. And all of our presenters today, I think we're in agreement on this, is that hope can be fostered by us. I don't know that the media is fostering much hope. I don't know that our politicians are fostering much hope because the emphasis is on the perfect storm itself, as opposed to how do we ride out and thrive and overcome the perfect storm. So I'll just move along here. So we might have some times for questioning, but these are just some great websites that you can look at in terms of making sense of the possible there, a conviction that a good future is possible. Hope can come from our own inner desire to regain health and live. Hope does not necessarily fade in the face of adversity. In fact, hope often endures despite poverty, war, and famine. People in the Holocaust, Jewish folks who actually survived psychologically and mentally is because of hope. They had an expectation that this would come to an end, and also they find themselves serving one another. So they weren't self-centered, so to speak. Hope in the blackest times or the bleakest times of despair, what's needed first is hope as a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's, you know, a lot of people don't believe there's light at the end of this tunnel. Here are some things that hinder hope, the sense of meaning and purpose. I'm not going to read through all of those. You just see a few for yourself. Here's what helps. Appreciating one's personal strengths, which has been mentioned today. So forth. I like what Dr. Rich says here in yellow. Hope is a match in a dark tunnel, a moment of light, just enough to reveal the path ahead and ultimately the way out. And my mother personified that through her humor. On my mother's tombstone, I performed her funeral, I performed my dad's funeral, I performed my sister's funeral. But on mother's tombstone or headstone is this phrase: remember the good times. What a precious gift my mother gave to me. And I use it with Lydia, my daughter. Lydia, remember the good times, though we've had, some difficult times in our own family. So I'm going to move down to the role of spirituality. It's often a taboo subject, but realize that 98% of the world's population subscribes to a religious faith or a spirituality. So spirituality is intimately connected with several other key factors that have been mentioned thus far: hope, connectedness, self-identity, purpose, and meaning. And it is a key concept in most of the majority of the world's religions. Hope is one of the three theological virtues of the Christian faith, alongside faith and love. Though we have failed miserably in that by our colonization, by our racism and oppression in the Deep South and so forth. Jesus was never a part of any of that. If you've ever read the New Testament, just read it just as pure literature. It'll cause you sometimes to say, why is it that Christians don't act more like Jesus? And so I don't espouse to churchianity. All the things done wrong in the name of Christ wasn't Christianity, it was churchianity. Politics and religion coupled together. But the Greek word for hope means a strong and confident expectation of future reward. It's a very strong Greek word. And in Proverbs 13:12, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And that's where we are. We're sick. We're sick and tired of this perfect storm. We're sick and tired of not being able to attend funerals and weddings. We're sick and tired of seeing those who are more vulnerable become more vulnerable. People who can't get the vaccination in countries outside of Canada and America, take India, for example. But then that proverb also says, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. A tree of life. And think of all the green leaves on that tree of life, beautiful trees. I've often said that if I were the jolly green giant or really huge giant, I would pick trees for flowers. Well, then you're destroying the earth, Chris. Okay, I won't pick them. I'll just sit there and enjoy them, which I do anyway. So waiting for a desired outcome over a long period of time causes heart sickness. And it does. I know that. Some examples in my own life. And so, there's a heart sickness that we have as a result of the pandemic. But no matter how strong your personal character and relationship with God may be, you cannot avoid this part of the human experience. We live on this side of the fall. It's not a perfect world, and we're not perfect. And we can always do better tomorrow than we have done today. Remember that. We can always do better tomorrow than what we have done today. And finally, in the book of Hebrews, it says, now faith is the assurance of what we hope for and the certainty of what we do not see. So it's not a hope so thing. You hear people say, well, I hope so. That's not hope. Hope is that expectation that the future will reveal itself for the things that you desire and long for, as long as they're in sync with things that are good and noble and right and righteous and so forth. So finally, hope helps us remain committed to our goals and motivated to take actions towards achieving. Hope gives people a reason to continue fighting. But notice I put in there moving forward. That's what I mean by fighting. I don't mean that in a negative sense, but it's like the slide the first presenter showed, the person in the ocean drowning or trying to overcome and reach the surface. So moving towards the surface, believing that their current circumstances will improve despite the unpredictable nature of human experience. Job in the Old Testament, the Quran and the Bible. Job lost everything. Read the story. He lost everything. He was wealthy, large family, wealthy. He lost everything. He lost the shirt on his back. And the question that he asked is, where then is my hope? Can anyone find it? You'll have to read the rest of the story to see whether Job found hope or not. And so, but you know what? You've got to do the hard work. You have to do the work, whether it's your wellness, whether it's being in tune with the various inner parts of yourself, and how you meditate in terms of connecting with self and the Creator. There is hope, but you have to work for it. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Somerville. Really, really appreciate it. This has been like a really, really great presentation. I have noticed there are a few questions in the chat. Not sure if you're able to click on the chat button and see. If not, I could always read them out.
I'm trying to get rid of my screen here. I hope I don't get cut off. What to say? Okay. Let's see where we're back at. Well, you may have to read them. I'm having a little difficulty here all of a sudden.
No worries, no worries. So one of the people, Zoya, he asks, do you think that the developed world is less resilient because of all of our technology, since our technology results in us spending less real physical time with each other? Should we then, as a society, move away from technology, since it's no longer a tool for us, rather it's hurting us?
Well, I don't know that it's possible to move away from technology, because Silicon Valley is not going to allow it. The politicians are not going to allow it, and the big corporations are not going to allow it. It is what's eventually is going to be sort of the Antichrist, I think. But I would agree. I'll give you this example. People with schizophrenia do best in the non-developed countries, to use that phraseology. Why do they do better, even though they may not have the medication? Because there is a greater sense of community. There's a greater sense of family. Here in the Western world, we're very individualistic with a lot of libertarianism. And so I'd have to agree with the individual who asked the question. I think in many ways, we have so much to learn from those countries that we quote, are not as developed as we are. They're developed in many ways much better than we are. Our reliance on technology is very concerning to me. I mean, there's good benefits to it, and to use it right, but the technology could become, in the wrong hands of people, the wrong hands of powerful entities, it could become a way of controlling people. We've seen that governments and the media have used fear to immobilize the Western culture.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And another question that Kareem asks is, what are some of the ways a person could use to strengthen their spirituality and positivity in order to remain hopeful moving forward?
Well, that's a great question. I love it. There's courses all over the world taught on this. Well, it has to, look, you folks, you men and women live in what's called postmodern era, postmodernity. I grew up, and I'm a product of modernity, the Enlightenment period, and rationalism, and et cetera. We believe that there were absolute truths, and postmodernism is characterized by critical realism. There are no absolute truths. Your truth is just as equal to my truth. So it's difficult to know how to develop a spirituality in postmodernism. It's more a I'm trying to think of the word. It's more psychogenic. It's not so much spiritual or theological or religious. Spirituality of today is more of a looking into yourself, whereas historically, spirituality is acknowledging of a higher power, which we call God, etc., and that God is all loving and sovereign and works in a providential way, and that we have a need because we need God's love, and we need to know how to love one another. And so Jesus, amongst many others, was an example of that. So it's a difficult question to answer because it depends on your philosophy, whether you hold to postmodern elements or I think an atheist can be a very spiritual person. Maybe the person who asked that question wants to ask another question.
Absolutely. Like while we're waiting for their response, we had Melissa who wants to ask a question via audio. So I will just allow Melissa to ask. Melissa, you're free to ask your question.
Hi, I just have a question on the subject on toxic positivity. So I know it's like a belief of where no matter how difficult or troublesome the situation is, people only want to maintain like this good mindset. I just want to ask, does that affect your resilience in any way?
You use the phrase toxic
positivity, yes.
Yeah. I meet some people that are so heavenly minded and they're no earthly good, so to speak. I think you have to admit reality. I've served as a chaplain. I've served as a pastor for 20 years. I've worked in the mental health movement for 30 years. It is a crushing blow when a person gets a diagnosis of schizophrenia. It used to be called the kiss of death diagnosis. I can't sweeten that. I can only talk about that. They can get better and recovery is possible, but these will be some limitations. So, recovery is living beyond the limitations. So sometimes positive thinking, some of the motivational speakers that you hear today, it's like, it's a belief in yourself, believe yourself. Well, I don't have the power to do the things a higher power could do. And so I would agree with you. I mean, the book of Job is very honest. It's a very honest look at catastrophe and emotionally, experientially and spiritually and relationally and communally. I mean, his wife said, curse God and die. And the 4 friends he had around him were horrible counselors. And so bad things do happen to the just and the unjust. As it says in another book, the book of James, it rains on the just and the unjust. So no, I don't believe in the concept of optimism or positivism when it becomes toxic in that way, because it becomes shame-based. The result of it is shame. They're shaming you because you're not doing enough. You're not working hard enough. You're not pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And then also, it also says this, and it's a false one: all the answers reside in you. All the answers do not reside in Chris Summerville. I am not what I am today because of answers that I just only found within myself. It came through community. It came through adversity. I thank God for adversity. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death or darkness or depression, he was with me, And so, you need both the valley and you need the mountain. You know what I'm saying? You need the valley of despair and you need the valley of joy. That's life.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Again, I just want to thank Chris Somerville for coming in and presenting. This has been an exceptional presentation. So again, thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for allowing a Southern accented one-armed guy living in Mennonite territory in Southern Canada speak to you. I am a Canadian citizen. The road less traveled for most of us Southerners. I'm glad I came to Canada. God bless you all.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much. Just before we conclude this meeting today, there's about 5 minutes left. So we will be doing our hoodie draw in the next 5 or so minutes. Oh, sir, when you go, actually, maybe I can help you with that. Stop participant sharing. Perfect. Okay, we're good. Yeah. So before we conclude, we'll be doing our hoodie draw right at the end of the workshop. So again, big thank you to everyone for coming. Just sit tight for the next 3 to 4 minutes. We should be done. I just got to make sure that the team has the Wheel of Fortune ready. 5 more minutes and then we'll dismiss, okay? So just sit tight. I'll even put some nice music just so you guys can enjoy. Let's see. Okay. Share. Oops. And also, just wanted to give a big shout out to all of the guest speakers. You can find them all on this page, actually. So here are all of their Instagram accounts, on Twitter accounts. So Anastasia, for example, our first speaker, you can find her in the Youth Wellness Network, or that's her Instagram account. Here's Francesca, the second speaker, who's also doing yoga and meditation. You can find her over here. And there in the bottom left corner, we have Ida, and finally Chris Summerville with the Schizophrenic Society of Canada, okay? So I will stop sharing for a second, and we will resume very, very soon, okay? So just sit tight, and I'll be back. Okay, so we are officially ready to conclude the meeting and do the final draw for the hoodie. So I would just like to give Sina, I believe, the sharing rights. Once we do that, we should be all okay. Sina, so you will get the host rights. Everybody's name should have been entered, so hopefully everything is well. We'll do the Wheel of Fortune. Before we start that, guys, could I ask everybody to, again, go on our Instagram, go on our Facebook, go on our YouTube channel, right? And go follow us. So our Instagram is @ShapeOfFlower. Our Facebook is The Shape of Flower. And then YouTube is Soft TV. So please go subscribe. Please go follow, because we'll be having so many more exciting opportunities and workshops ahead of us, okay? So Sina, I'm going to give you the chance to make a host. Yep, Sina, the floor is yours. So just, yeah. Perfect. Okay, so everybody's name should be in here. Again, thank you to everyone for participating. And let the hoodie picker wheel begin. Let's do this. Wow. Congratulations to Melissa B. Again, thank you so much for Melissa for participating. We'll be sending you the hoodie as soon as we can. And yeah, again, big thank you to Melissa. Really, really appreciate you being here. Again, just to read like just the final kind of remarks that I have. So let me just put it on the last slide. If everybody could go and like congratulate Melissa, that would be great. Okay, disable participants screen sharing. So let me just reclaim really quick. Okay, so that should be good. Share screen. Right. So again, don't forget to go follow us on the variety of different accounts. I would like to also thank each and every one of our speakers, right? So Anastasia, Francesca, Ida, Chris, a really big and warm thank you to all of you. You have been absolutely exceptional in educating and just providing this amazing support for these workshops. And we hope we can continue working in the future. I'd also like to say a few words. On behalf of our organization, I'd like to thank all of you, every single person who's here, for taking your time and tuning into the workshop. This workshop will be posted on our YouTube channel, so at SOF TV, so you can go over and watch it right after. Well, it should be posted tomorrow, so you can go watch it tomorrow. That's why if you missed any of today's parts, don't worry, you can come back and you can take a look. In the future, we'll be having a variety of different workshops, such as a leadership workshop, a financial workshop, a workshop regarding cryptocurrency and investing. So please stay tuned. Please go follow us on a variety of different accounts, as you can see here. And again, thank you so much and take care. Bye, everyone. Thank you again for coming.